Withdraw. It is selfish and unreasonable to expect anyone to understand you. Just be yourself. You tried your best. This was part of a journal entry I made back in November of 2015. Over the years, I've had a few realizations that have made me more comfortable, more accepting, and even more loving of myself. The entry I just read out was one of those moments. And the realization I had then was to let go of the expectation to be understood by people. Like some of you watching this video, I always had this yearning to be understood. There was this deep desire to want people around me, people close to me, and sometimes even strangers to understand me. But unfortunately, this was not the case. And to be honest, it still isn't. But in this video, I'm going to explain how it's different now and how it's been different for the last 9+ years. At the time when I wrote that entry, I frequently found myself in situations where I felt misunderstood. And it wasn't just in a surface level way, it was in a more deeper, fundamental sense. I would say something and to get interpreted in a completely different way from the way I intended it. And typically was through the filter of how the person perceived me rather than what I actually meant. And it was frustrating. It wasn't just the fact that the words were being misunderstood. It was more like the people close to me, my friends, my family, didn't truly see me for who I was. And I'm not sure exactly where this desire came from. Maybe it was a validation thing. Maybe I thought if someone else acknowledged the way my mind works, then that would be confirmation that I wasn't alone in my thinking. Maybe it was a disappointment in realizing that most times when people misunderstood me, it typically was in a negative way. Or maybe with good reason. Or maybe I just had this romanticized idea that people closest to you should just intuitively get you. Whatever the reason was, it was extremely distressing at the time. And I remember I had this one person that I thought actually fully understood me. And then there was a moment when they also misinterpreted something that I said in a negative way. And that was just it. That was the confirmation I needed. And that was when I wrote the entry. Just thought to myself, just give up. No one is ever going to fully understand you. And you should stop expecting them to. That journal entry was essentially the emotional tantrum of a 19-year-old kid. But in hindsight, it did mark the beginning of an important shift in my mindset, which was to let go of expecting others to understand me. And this realization led me to an unusual approach. I began leaning into being misunderstood. Rather than fearing misinterpretation, I began to expect it and sometimes playing around with it, seeking it out. I think this is when I began to have the habit of teasing people or trolling people, saying some absurd statements just to gauge their reaction. It wasn't in a malicious way, it was just to make them have a double take and question whether I was being serious or not. And sure, sometimes I pushed it too far. But in a very strange way, this practice was very liberating. It started to rewire my brain. I stopped needing to be understood, and as a result, I stopped being disappointed when I wasn't. And the truth is, expecting people to always understand you is a bit unrealistic. It creates this dependency where you seek external validation for your existence and your identity. And when that validation isn't met, it can be incredibly damaging. So what did I do instead? I turned that expectation inwards. Instead of seeking to be understood, I focused on understanding myself. And instead of seeking validation from others, I redirected that desire to become the type of person who genuinely wanted to understand other people. And this shift completely changed how I approached relationships, conversations, and even the career that I'm thinking of going into. Now, when I interact with someone, I have this little goal at the back of my mind. How much can I truly try and understand this person? And that mindset has allowed me to be able to connect with almost anyone. Because rather than going into the interaction expecting them to get me, I go into the interaction and the conversation wanting to genuinely understand them. And then there's the realization that most people don't even fully understand themselves. So it is extremely unrealistic for them to be able to care about or even have the ability to understand you. So if you often feel distress as a result of being misunderstood or feeling misunderstood by people, my advice is very simple. Embrace it. Accept that as humans, we are far too complex for any other person to truly fully understand us. You'll always be interacting with someone else that has their own worldview, their own life experiences, their own biases, and their own assumptions. So if a misunderstanding actually matters, address it. Simply say, I think you misunderstood me, and then go on to clarify what it is that you meant. And despite this, some people would just not be able to understand you, and that is fine. Most times, the misunderstanding is minor and irrelevant. So if it doesn't matter, let it go. Most people are not going to be analyzing your every word as deeply as you think that they are. They are too busy dealing with their own thoughts. Last but not the least, focus on being deeply understood by you. At the end of the day, that's what really matters. If you know who you are, know what you stand for, and know why you think the way you do, external misunderstandings will lose their power over you. So instead of resisting being misunderstood, lean into it. Let go of the unrealistic expectation that people are going to completely understand you. And instead, become the type of person who seeks to understand others, because that will serve you far more than constantly trying to explain yourself to the world.